AGRI-FOOD.AI, the future sound of agriculture and food industry. The future is now.
Hello and welcome to the Sound of the Future. Charlotte, how can it happen that in 1 year, in the middle of the temperate climate zone, there was no rain but extreme heat during the summer, and then in autumn we face floods due to an extreme amount of rain and snow?
I'm not equipped for such a complex analysis, but I do know that the recent storm in September, known as a Genoa low, typically brings severe flooding to parts of the Alps in Eastern Europe. This time, it was accompanied by an unusually cold air mass that resulted in large amounts of snow. In areas with higher temperatures, there were heavy rains.
Okay, but it usually happens in December, not in September. How can we adapt to climate change?
With complex systems analyzing weather patterns and collecting real-time data, predictions are possible. But the method of defense and adaptation is up to you.
Is digitalization a step forward toward the solution?
Yes, absolutely, but I can't provide a direct answer to that. Perhaps a strategist or politician can help.
That's it. In today's episode, we have a special guest, the State Secretary for Agriculture and Rural Development of Hungary, Zsolt Feldman. Let's dive in. In today's episode, we will discuss the future of farming and agriculture from a political perspective. How can digitalization help agriculture adapt to fast and radical changes? How can small farms survive? Is the future only for digitalized farming? Our guest is Zsolt Feldman, the State Secretary of Hungary, and Gergő Boromissa, the expert from AGRI-FOOD.AI. Welcome to the show, Mr. State Secretary and Mr. Expert. Mr. State Secretary Zsolt, how do you assess the Hungarian market's readiness to adopt precision technologies?
One of the main questions of today's, and I see, just step back, one that the Hungarian agriculture and their farmers is under pressure from market issues, from regulation issues, and of course normal competitiveness pressure. And when we are talking about the how widespread the digitalization and the precision farming in Hungary, we have official data from 2020. That was a census made by the official Hungarian statistics office. And one aspect is that approximately 1 million hectares was cultivated using by different kind of differentiated work operation by farmers, one side. But there is another aspect of this, that was a question about that what is the main obstacles for farmers that they can't use these technologies, and that was more than 100,000 farmers who said that they don't need these technologies, and that's maybe our first and main issues, that how we can fight against this background and thinking of farmers. And it was a surprise for me that was only some thousands who said that the lack of money to invest into these technologies was the main problem, and more or less 20,000 people said that the lack of knowledge, which is the main obstacle. So what I would like to say, so one side, 1 million hectares are cultivated in different kinds of precision technologies, and there are a huge range of Hungarian farmers who are not able, for some reasons, using it. So it's a little bit dual picture we have.
And the lack of knowledge means lack of the will, or they really can't get closer to modern technologies because they can't understand it?
Well, let's see that it's not just a technology. It's not only a technology, because using it, so using database precision farming technologies, needs on the other side change your working processes, change your decision-making practices as a farmer. So that means that technology is just one aspect, and generally maybe you have to change your working methods, which were used from your side maybe in the last 2-3 decades. So that's the difficulty in this issue, and that's why we are talking about the new generations coming and the possibilities of the younger farmers in the future.
So farmers need a new mindset. They have to develop a new mindset according to the technologies. Gergő, what do you see traveling across the country?
Yes, and they are battling with the changing times, and I can just fortify what Zsolt said. There's a good, let's say a bit sad story about beekeeping. They saying that 20 years ago they had a calendar with precisely date by date what they have to do maintaining the beehive and the bee family. Then 10 years ago they could use the calendar, but adapting what is the actual climate, environment, etc. For now, in these recent days, they act like just what they have to. So there are no more paths to follow, traditional practices what they learned from their fathers or
because
like
of the
this.
climate change.
Yes.
And can you explain them that using, for example, weather forecast algorithms, they can adapt more easily to the changing environment?
Probably yes, but they cannot use only one thing. They need to think in an ecosystem. So using multiple tools, using digital tools, which are not really used to. So this is the hard thing, which probably the next generation will be more adaptive to use such solutions.
And Zsolt, do you see the same problems in the EU and worldwide?
Of course, I think that the agriculture, if you see it worldwide, but in EU level as well, mostly based on micro and small-sized farmers. Of course, in Europe and in Hungary, medium-sized as well. But as in other economic sectors, special knowledge needs to improve in your activity using these technologies. And if you work alone as a family farmer, that means that you are able to product as a farmer as decades ago. You, on the other side, there is an administrative burden today caused by the EU legislation. So that means that you are on the other side as a bureaucrat. And the third one is what you mentioned, that you need renew your knowledge. So these three main topics in one person, it's very, very, very difficult. But when we see bigger companies who have a chance to employ experts who can buy the knowledge from the market, so specialized companies, so that means that they have more chance to adopt this technologies and adopt this knowledge because they can buy the knowledge. So that's why so important to try our best to reduce the level of the gap between these different size farmers, because who can able to use these technologies have a chance to go ahead with high speed, and who are not able to use this and achieve these possibilities, these farmers' speeds will be in a lower level. So it's not a healthy. So that's why so important in all aspects, in training programs, in support programs, using all tools which are usable to reduce the gap between adaptive farmers and currently not adaptive farmers.
Gergő, you have a technology directly for beekeepers, for small-scale beekeepers,
Really?
to form a network when beekeepers can give data from the field and form a network. It's a plan and a pilot.
It's a project plan, so we don't have it yet. But yes, we are always investigating the different subsectors of the agriculture and the food processing sector to how can we software engineers, how can we help or improve their practices, because again, I have to sit on the side of Zsolt and said the same. It's the same problem everywhere in France, in Poland, in Hungary. It's mainly based on the size and the financial capabilities of the farmers or these companies. And just think about that the more advanced sectors like machinery and automotive, there are engineers working in those companies who are familiar with the similar technologies like software and everything. They can adapt and maintain R&D teams inside the company. For food processing and agriculture, the R&D is different, and they focusing on the crops, the animal husbandry, and these kind of solutions are a bit odd for them.
And can it be a solution if the small ones, to avoid splitting in two parts in agriculture, which is the capability of adaptation and the incapability and staying alone, can be forming network a solution for the small ones? If they work together, if they are educated together, can they get to the point where they can adopt these technologies?
What I say, maybe it can be useful, but other side, as simple applications and programs are available for farmers, because most of them use their smartphones. And what I say that programs, softwares which are manageable using by their smartphones are the most widespread used in the practice, because complex programs are too difficult maybe to learn it separately.
Yes, and we need to simplify all those things, because it's administrative time for the farmers. Even the highly educated in the East sector are working physically because they need to, they have to, and after when the job is done, they need to administrate all the things, and this is not a fun thing, just saying like this. And we have a very simple application called Maduro. It's for the coffee sherry quality control, and it's quite simple. Just take a photo and you get the quality of the coffee sherry, and easier to decide than counting the rightness of the each sherry. So this is the level which can be easily adopted by the small scale farmers as well, because it's on the smartphone, it's easy.
And simplification is a magic word in the EU nowadays. We are having this chat in the Q3 of 2024 during the Hungarian EU presidency. And simplification of the agriculture funding system is a major issue. Why is it so urgent and necessary, Zsolt?
Simplification, it's a magic word, of course, but if we see the previous two reforms of the CAP, it's always on the flags that we should simplify the CAP regulation. It's unfortunately the process was the totally other, more bureaucratic would be at the end of the CAP. That's why in this year, at the beginning of this year, was lots of former demonstration. Of course, that were some other reasons, but the bureaucratic burdens. And bureaucratic burdens comes from the requirements. The requirements, which is maintained in different EU legislation, which are get limits in your productivity. It seems that you can't produce as you could it 10 years ago, because maybe the legislator thinks that it's environmental friendly, that protect the environment, less carbon footprint caused by this farming management practices. But we have to see that all requirements, green requirements, you have to, as a farmer, certify that you fulfill the requirements. And to fulfill the requirements, so if you try to clarify that you done it, that means that you would need to produce data. That means that if you have to produce data, the authorities need this data, and you have to put into a system. And that means maybe in a simple way that when we are talking about administrative burden, it's too much. Nowadays, a farmer half day, as we were talking about, half day do their normal agricultural production activity, and the other half of the day administrate in their laptop and in their computers. It's not normal. And the question is, when we are, as from the Hungarian presidency's perspective, that what we can do, that simplification would be a real simplification from the next CAP period. And we have magic words as word, so we try to achieve a farmer-friendly, competitive, sustainable and knowledge-based agriculture reform when we are talking the new agriculture in the EU. And the tools. What are the main questions? But what I would like to underline and focus on, that simplification working if we can reduce not just the data collection and system, but the requirements, the concrete practical requirements which cause pressure on the farmer, and that will be the most hot topics in the next 2 years, as I see at the European level.
But we have perfect tools to collect data, and they can help to avoid administration. For example, a John Deere sends the data directly to the cloud. Maybe if you can connect these database to the administration database, then the farmer can go home and finish the work after working in the field. Is it a very futuristic vision, or how far are we now from this?
Did you hear about the John Deere problem in the US?
No.
Because John Deere likes to ask extra money for these data, and even when they need to improve the software of the harvester or any machinery, then it's always coming again the money. So
I heard that they are working with Elon Musk to use his capacity.
He likes money as well.
The storage capacity for the big data system.
Yeah.
But is it a possible future without John Deere to use AI and smart tools to avoid the administration after work? So if your machines collect data and it's independent from your activity, and the data goes their data way and you go your own way on the field. So it's not that much burden on the farmer.
Well, possibly, yes. Yeah.
But it needs money. So if you decide to spend a lot,
and it's multi-personal, or how to say it, it's a multi-actor based, the government, the farmers, the EU, and the data owners. So it's a bit complex. Just to simply think about it as a company, as a software engineer company, that okay, let's make some database like this.
But you can make it on a farm.
Yeah.
Directly. Then the farmer maybe is in better situation when he or she on his or her farm has these data collected, analyzed, and only has to fill in the gaps on the administration sheets. Maybe.
Sounds good. We are working with a food processing company on building up a factory level digital twin. that's easier to collect because there are machines, production lines in a factory, and the farm processes are more distributed geographically, so it's harder to collect. Of course, we have sensors, we have everything, but to build up an ecosystem which automatically collects, analyzes, and administrates all of these things,
far from that.
A good idea. Look into the future. So it's good.
Zsolt, how can politics help?
Firstly, we were talking about reducing the administrative burden, because all data which comes from these systems, what you mentioned, from machineries, from harvesters, etc., I'm sure that most of them it's not in line with the administrative requirements. So it's not the same, because you see the yields, for example, or you see data about your soil's inner structure and what you suffer from soil, and you need add some fertilizers, or for example. But in the support system, the subsidy system, it's not the same data are needs. That's just a small reaction on the previous sentences. From the agriculture policy side, one aspect, we launched a support scheme to help transition in digitalization. This was a precision farming support scheme, for example. In the last term, it was 2,600 farmers supported by this support scheme. We spent on approximately 190 billion forints to help these agricultural companies this transition by machineries, by power machineries, working machineries, which are part of the precision farming technology system. Of course, the services, because higher added value comes from the professional companies who help these farmers using these systems. So one side, we have this kind of support scheme from the investment side, and we continue it. At the end of this year, we launch a new call on precision farming, so have the precision farming, for example.
Is it such a huge amount again?
As I remember, we have approximately 100 billion forints to this CAP programming period. So we are in a discussion with the sector that how we can target it in the best way. So to step forward, which are the best ways, focus groups, supported machineries and technologies, services. So we are now trying to shape renew the program based on the previous programming period experiences, of course. So there is one side. We have
I'm sorry, when it will be announced? In December or maybe next year?
As I remember, we will show for the sector this call, this tender at the end of the year, and that means that farmers can apply this kind of grant in the first quarter of the next year. That's maybe the reality, and but that's one side. Of course, we financing training schemes. We supporting farming advisory systems, for example. So that's the way where we can help. But on the other side, I'm sure that in the last years, precision farming is built into the university's materials and programs, and now it's a widespread part of this. So, for example, when we are talking about the future, I think that this approach, that it's a widespread basic elements of the education system in agriculture, I think that it can be a good basic for the future, the new generations. Knowledge, if it is in their mind, in their mindset, it will be as more natural. So investments, training programs, and farm advisory system, of course, and education. So the education, the four pillars when the state can help.
It's a difficult field because If you think about a plant, it has a life circle. It needs time to grow, 3 months growing, 3 months ripening, and then after you can go and harvest it. That brings a mindset which says, I only have to do my job and wait, and after everything will be fine. And now, this year, comes extreme heat in summer, then a snowfall in September. And maybe this is a warning for the old school mindset type of farmer also, that it's not the same than even in 20 years ago. You have to adapt very, very fast. And for this adaptation, not the human mind is the best tool. You need AI, you need data, you need precision agriculture. Not only the young ones can bring it. If you look around, you can see it yourself maybe. But what do you think? What we can talk about 20 years later in 2040 or 50 maybe?
Add another example, which might be better than about plants and crops. Just think about improving the genetics of dairy cattle. When a farmer works with dairy cattle and they want to improve the genetics to get healthier animals, longevity, longer living animals, more fertile, they think about in 10 years' time, 5 generations or more, to improve, to reach the desired level, what they are planned. Data collection and predictive AI could predict what will happen in the 5th generation. So yes, we should think about, and that's why I'm always talking to farmers to find some problems which we might help. So yes, they need to act faster by using digital tools.
And what do you think? Will there be small family farms in 20 years?
Yes, I hope, because they are the base of the agriculture.
But the bigger companies can adapt more effectively, so maybe yes, family farms will lose their importance.
They lead innovation, and at the end of the day, these innovative tools might find their ways to the smaller farmers.
What do you think?
I think the first question is that what they do in their farms. Why I said it? Because I think that when we are talking about the future of the agriculture, it's very crucial to maintain this family farming sector, this small and medium-sized farmers. And of course, when we are talking about the CAP tools, we are trying to focus these tools to help them. But the other side, the market-oriented activities is more effective and more important for these family farms. And I think that we see this globalization and the open and global markets consequences. 40 years ago, a farmer who produced paprika, for example, somewhere in Szentes, nobody can imagine that, in somewhere in North Africa, paprika producers leave. But now when 2-3 days are enough to travel this North African paprika to everywhere in Europe, it's not the same market. So I think that in the future for small scale farmers, the main issue is that don't do the same what the bigger players do. You have to specialize or integrate into a value chain because you get enough knowledge and technologies from your partners who integrate you as a production partner. Another solution, of course, the direct selling. So I think that for the future it will be a stable part of the potential that you can produce vegetables, eggs, etc., and sell it regionally or locally. So that will be one solution. So what I would like to underline that there are several ways for these small-scale farms to have enough income to survive and maintain their families.
Thank you very much. Mr. State Secretary and Mr. Expert, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thanks to everyone who listened to the AGRI-Food.AI podcast. I hope we inspired you. Send your questions and experiences and we will turn them into podcasts. Stay with us. With us, the future is now.
If you have any questions or problems, don't hesitate to reach out. www.agri-food.ai.
Meet us on the internet www.agri-food.ai. And next week here on the AGRI-Food.AI podcast. You can find us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel and receive notifications when a new episode is available. The AGRI-Food.AI podcast is the official release of AGRI-Food.AI. Host Anna Maronic, sound design 6. Recorded by Zoltán Mandácskó. Producer István Erdei and AGRI-Food.AI. This podcast was created by
Trip Visual, Trip Audio.